Thanks for staying and welcome back to the marketplace. Now, Finance Minister Tekpe has said government has instituted the necessary measures to prevent any energy crisis next year. The assurance follows projections by energy think tank ASEP that the energy crisis, which hit the economy over the last 2 years, is far from over. George Wiafe has more on the state of the economy, according to the Finance Minister.
Speaking to newsmen on the state of the economy, Mr. Tekpe noted that he doesn't see the crisis re-emerging from next year.
In terms of economic management, this is the first government and the only time since nationhood, if I may, or maybe even colonial times, that the government had run the fiscal program without central bank financing. Nonetheless, because we would be putting out some figures in accordance with agreements that we have, we can say at this point in time that we have had some slippage at the end of the year with respect to the fiscal deficit, which is likely to be 1.5 to 2 percentage points, higher than was projected.
The Finance Minister also spoke about measures being instituted to avoid any petroleum shortage on the market as well as price hikes.
We are in a festive season, and this is usually the time when demand for petroleum products would have gone up. We have also seen crude oil prices go up from around $43 to the $57 that we used in the budget, which we, even during the mid-year review, we did not expect, and therefore said it will be around 48 or 53. And yet, there are no petrol queues. Prices have been stable. And for this year, we have not paid a penny or a peswa, if I may be correct, of forex losses on petroleum products for the whole of 2016 that is ending. And this is due to the strategic stock and stabilization policies that we put in place.
He spoke about plans to push banks to pay interest on government's deposits to ensure that the state gets more from its funds kept with these institutions. The Finance Minister also announced that some electronic systems have been put in place to improve revenue collections. Mr. Tekpe concluded his presentation by saying the economy has indeed been stabilized and it's poised for the expected boom from next year.
Meanwhile, challenges in achieving the targeted revenue resulted in government spending more than targeted. Now, this will result in a deficit of 5.2 percentage points more than what it was hoping to get by the end of the year. Finance Minister Tekpe said if it had not been the problems with the Jubilee FPSO, things would have improved.
We would be putting out some figures in accordance with agreements that we have. We can say at this point in time that we have had some slippage at the end of the year with respect to the fiscal deficit, which is likely to be 1.5 to 2 percentage points, higher than was projected. This is a major reversal on account of first the FPSO, which I mentioned, earlier on, resulting in shortfalls in flows to the ABFA and shortfalls in foreign currency, foreign exchange flows, but we managed to stabilize the cedi nonetheless, and as well as shortfalls in gas supply, which affected the economy. The real sector, particularly oil and gas, is set to perform well going forward. The specter of doomsday is something which is being brought under control to the point where, as we speak, The projection is that supply could exceed demand, which will be reversing the situation in about 2 to 3 years' time in terms of power supply. And we have had occasion to stop the processing of independent power producer applications until a comprehensive review that is being done, is completed.
Away from that, government is taking steps to quickly clear all the energy sector debts owed banks. To this end, it is set to release 166 million Ghana cedis to banks this week. This will represent the third tranche payment to banks, bringing the total amount advanced to about 582 million Ghana cedis. President of the Association of Bankers, Al-Hassan Andani, tells Joy Business the development could improve their financial position and reduce the cost of credit.
Have we made any progress on the payment of these NPLs for the banks?
Yes, we have made progress, especially those NPLs that are due from the energy and power sectors, petroleum and power sectors. The first phase of the restructuring of the VRA debt to the banks, you would know we had an upfront payment. We also had the first payment for September, which is the first quarterly payment. We've seen instructions out from the Minister of Finance to the Controller and Accountant General, instructing payment for the second quarterly payment, which is due end of December. So, and also the central bank has reviewed the processes and actually issued a note out to all the banks who are exposed particularly to VRA to reclassify the loans from their books from non-performing to current. So it means that if we look at total debt stock in the industry, 2.3 to 2.4 billion, which was due banks on VRA's books, have been reclassified from non-performing to performing. So that's a tangible reduction in the stock of NPLs in the market.
Let's look at some hard numbers here. In terms of some hard numbers, to date, what has been forwarded to you and what are you expecting to be paid finally to close the books on these debts?
Well, look, let's speak specifically to the total exposure of VRA to the banks. We're talking about 2.4 billion, out of which an upfront payment of 250 million was received, and the second installment was another 170 million that was received and paid down. This second quarterly payment is also another 166 million received and paid. And if we continue on that trajectory, we expected that these debts have been restructured to pay out in 5 years, and we are on schedule.
Government has agreed with the banks to make some big payments every quarter over the next 5 years. According to analysts, the over 2 billion cedis debts nearly led to the collapse of some banks if the necessary commitment had not been secured earlier this year. Now, still staying in energy, the Senior Staff Association of the Volta River Authority wants urgent action taken to rescue the organization. The staff are especially worried about the authority's $1.2 billion debt they say is gradually sinking it. Some factors contributing to this debt, according to them, include preferential treatments given to independent power producers and short-term debt servicing, among others.
The association is also raising issues of a lack of transparency, especially on how much has been accrued from the energy levy introduced by government some months ago. Outgoing national chairman Winfred Amenu, who disclosed this to Joy News at the association's biennial congress in Akusi, says the future of the company looks bleak if nothing is done about the current status. He is worried, just like other national assets, VRA could collapse if the problems are not solved immediately.
Indeed, we are being the watchdog of policies that militate against the survival of the authority. Let me just cite one example, that we have independent power producers in this country. VRA is saddled or burdened with buying crude oil or gas for such entities, though they appear to be in competition with us. And when it comes to payment for power generated, they are giving preference over VRA, thereby worsening our financial position.
According to Winfred Amenu, there is the need to amend Act 692, which earlier amended portions of Act 46, the original act which sets up VRA. He believes this will boost representation of stakeholders with expertise on VRA board instead of the current trend where individuals loyal to the party of the day get appointment to the board.
We need that amendment to make sure that the original legislation that assigns institutional representation on the VRA board is revived.
Ishmael Ejikumhene of the Kumasi Institute of Technology and Environment wondered why staff of VRA kept quiet when government brought in Kapa and Ameri. Meanwhile, head of policy unit at ASEP, Ishmael Aka, who represented the executive director, urged VRA to review policies which have contributed to its plight. The Congress elected and sworn in new executives, newly elected national chairman of the Senior Staff Association, Seifas Duse, has issues with what he describes as ECG's inability to pay VRA.
ECG is the main culprit. Their reason for not paying is that government is not paying them, and therefore they are not able to also pay us. The MDAs are not paying.
Kwame Yanka's report for Joy News.
You're still on the marketplace, and Access Bank has finally listed on the stock exchange. This is the second bank in a week to list on the Bears following last week's listing of ADB Bank. Now, George Wafia was at the stock market and has joined me right here in the studio to tell us more about this listing. George, what happened at the stock
Interesting
exchange?
times. As they went on the market, they saw some significant price appreciation actually, and trader still going on, so not firming up the price yet. But basically, they had some challenges with respect to getting all the funds that they wanted during the IPO. But what we understand that there is an arrangement where even post-listing on the market, these investors that have given their necessary commitment will bring in the necessary funds to actually ensure that they get all the over 100 million Ghana cedis that they are looking forward to. In terms of expansion, actually, what they're going to do with these funds, basically, will be driven towards expanding the bank, or more of the bank's growth, actually, more branch expansion, and also investing in technology as well. And some will also say indirectly go on to beaver the capital requirement of the bank, that is Access Bank.
Now, last week, the ADB Bank targeted over 300 million. Now, comparing it to 100 million by Access Bank,
a little over one.
Way,
well, basically, it's about what you're going to use the funds for, and also these are funds that you're going to pay back to investors. So you also want to do some necessary planning to ensure that you are getting the funds that you're actually using for the purpose that you are targeting. So there's nothing like you have a big appetite, or you have a lot of appetite to take on a lot of funds, so you're just going ahead to take it. No.
Right.
What are the things that you want to do? And you advance these funds towards it. ADB had a bigger project that they wanted to undertake, so they were looking at the over 300 million Ghana cedis. Access Bank thinks that with just a little over 100 million Ghana cedis, that is enough to advance towards these areas that we actually want to do. So that is why you're seeing those different amounts being raised here, i.e. ADB and then Access Bank.
Now, what has the managers of Access Bank been saying?
Well, they are quite optimistic. They were concerned about the amount of money that was raised. They don't think that the price of the share was really a problem at all, because they think that, listen, in terms of real valuation, they are worth more than what was quoted on the stock market. So that shouldn't be a problem at all, and that they are poised to invest these funds to see the bottom line improve and make some good returns for investors.
And last week we saw a lot of investor confidence in ADB's shares. Do you see the same kind of commitment?
Already, we've seen some trades already. Let's wait till trading actually closes, and let's see what will happen with respect to the share price. What is going to happen to Access Bank? If we see a lot of interest in the shares of Access Bank, but see that, well, a lot more things to come. Don't forget that some are also saying that with the ADB shares, there wasn't enough time for these retail investors to get a bite of the shares. So when it listed, people were then rushing to get in to get a bite of it. And also, people thought that ADB's listing would never come on. And so coming on the market finally there was an opportunity to actually go in and get a bite of it. So let's see what will happen to shares of Access Bank post-trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Then it would be fair for us to do the comparison as an ADB and then Access Bank.
Gives you the impression that more banks now are drifting towards the stock market to raise capital.
Basically, it's seen as a very safe means of doing that, of course, because if you compare that to debt, sometimes it's quite expensive. You take these long-term funds, based on doing well, that you are bound to pay dividend to shareholders. Even when you do so well, sometimes there are structures in place or certain policies where the banks don't directly pay back the profits to shareholders. What they do is that they plow it back into the business, invest, expand, and pay that money maybe the another time. Whilst if you look at debt, you are bound to making some commitment to the banks or paying the money back to the banks within a short period. So they think that going onto the market is quite a good avenue to raise long-term funds.
Thank you very much, George.
Thank you so much, Yafi. Great to be on the marketplace.
Sure, great to having you. All right, so you're still on the marketplace, and the Bank of Ghana is to launch call centers in some areas in Accra to help bridge the information gap between the general public and the central bank. This will enhance public knowledge on the financial activities of the bank, as well as improve transparency and accountability within the central bank. Now, but banking consultant Nana Otuo-Champon advocates an independent financial regulator to oversee activities of such call centers. In an interview with Joy Business, centers will help ensure value for money. Charles Aite has more.
As the Bank of Ghana prepares for the launch of call centers to give the public direct access to information on its operations on Friday, 23rd December, banking consultant Nana Otuo-Champon is doubtful the centers will be effective. The bank is confident that these call centers will help boost accountability and bridge the information gap existing between the general public and the bank. In an interview with Joy Business, Nana Otuo-Champon argues the central bank is better off appointing an independent financial regulator to manage these centers.
The complaint section, which is presently handled by a department in the bank called ICRO, which stands for Investigation and Consumer Reporting Office. They have been handling complaints, but their interface with the public has been very limited. And so it's good that they are coming out with this scheme to expand the interface with the public, give out a free phone number where the public can complain about issues. But the Financial Ombudsman should be an independent body of the regulator.
He says the setting up of an independent financial ombudsman will not only cut down on operational costs, but also boost the level of transparency and accountability in the central bank.
They are shying away from saying that please see this service to another independent body to do it. And so I think whilst commending them for the introduction, we should also tell them that, look, this is not your area, so give it to the expert areas, because the financial ombudsman will have all these experts that you are referring to, and they won't need to be doing what Bank of Ghana wants to do. So it's time that we look at it again and say, let us call for an independent legal body that will try and resolve the disputes between the consumers and the providers of the services.
The call centers, which are expected to deliver a 24-hour service to the general public, will be situated at the BOG's office off the Spintex Road in Accra, with a backup center on the bank's premises in Accra.
Now, traders in the Central Business District of Accra have expressed mixed reactions about Christmas business so far, especially coming after the elections last week at the Abusokan Spare Parts Hub. Now, there was a reduction in prices because traders were expecting taxes to be reduced by the incoming administration, citing the promises they made during the campaign period. Now, so to what extent has the elections affected Christmas business in retail markets? Joy Business has been finding out from some traders at the Central Business District of Accra, and now brings you more.
The apprehension posed by the just-ended elections seems to have given way for the Yuletide approaching. The usual hustle and bustle in the Central Business District of Accra has increased as Ghanaians prepare for the Yuletide. However, speaking to Joy Business, some small business owners in the Central Business District lamented the decline in business. They attributed the drop in sales just-ended elections, while others say they were hopeful sales would pick up again with a few days to go for the Christmas festivities.
This year, the market is not that good. It's not all that good at all because things are not things are not easy at all in Ghana here. Even to get money is not easy. So we, the petty traders around, we do not find things easy at all. Things are very, very difficult here. And so most of the times, the people passing by will to buy, but their money is not sufficient for them to buy. So they will just ask of the price, then they will put it down later.
So EBI is going on. You come, you open your store, you stay. Since we came in the morning to this time, up to this time, if you calculate it, you don't have anything a year. So I think things are not going on as it's supposed to be. So last year is better. Last year is better than now. I've shown this book to you. There is nothing going on. You come and stay here in the evening. You close your store and go and sleep. There is nothing going on.
People are not buying. They told us that when Nana wins, people would come out to buy, but that has not happened. We are waiting on God. Last year, sales were up, but this year, it is not like that. Last year, people were buying in dozens, but this year, it is not the same.
Well, there are a lot of people, around. People are passing, but they are not buying. They come and ask the prices, and then they go. Last year, it was better, but at the same time, we can't say because Christmas has not, we have about some few days, and sometimes when it's getting near to Christmas, that's when people start, coming to buy. So we are waiting to see maybe next week what will happen.
Other operators said they had experienced a boost in sales after the end of the elections.
This year's Christmas sales have been very, very good compared to last year. And this year it was election year. And since Nana won, things have been going on very well. Like people are just coming to our shops and buying stuff for the Christmas celebration. That is what we've sold a lot. Compared to last year, we sold a lot. But it was after the elections. Before the elections, people didn't come out to buy like last year. But after the elections, people have been buying. So I'll say we are running out of stock now. So we sold a lot.
This Christmas,
last year, things were bad, very, very bad. This year is much better. People are buying more GTP than they did last year. In the past week, we have sold 50 to about 70 cartons of cloth. We are hoping to sell 300 cartons by the end of Christmas, hopefully.
Oh, close to 300 or 250 to 300.
Since the elections ended, it has been good this year by God's grace, although it could be better compared to last year. This year has been much better.
From the Central Business District, this is Kukwa Apia reporting for Joy Business.
All right, so some kind of mixed feelings right there in the Central Business Districts of Accra, but in all cases, we still have to celebrate our Christmas. Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year in advance. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Riafe, and that's it for the marketplace. Good afternoon.